Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, right back here on WagerTalk TV with your college football top 25 video for this Week 14 championship week. College football is here. I'm going to let you know how to play the five biggest games on the board, the five big, major five conference championships, let you know where there's some value, some money-making opportunities, and also give you my database simulation projections for each game as well. Let's win together here on WagerTalk TV. Hey, quick reminder, doing daily pro basketball, college basketball, NFL videos as well. So I know college football is winding down until the bowl season, but be sure to check out the daily content here along with the TV shows. Also, yet another reason to hit subscribe and hit the bell for instant alerts, including when my NFL Fade the Public video is locked and loaded this weekend on Saturday. All right, we have one Friday night game and four Saturday games. Let's get to that Friday night game first. The Pac-12 championship in Las Vegas, 8 o'clock Eastern Friday night on ABC. Number 5 Oregon against number 3 Washington. Yet the number 3 undefeated team is more than a touchdown dog. And I know we talked about the NFL Fade the Public video, but I'm going to give you some public insight here in the college football games as well, because as is often the case, when you have high-profile winning teams getting points, all of a sudden the public stops playing favorites all the time and starts leaning towards dogs. As some of you all know, and many of you probably know, one of my favorite Fade the Public angles is fading public dogs. And Washington looks like the most public dog this week in college football. And it's not a surprise. You've got a team that's undefeated on the season, beat Oregon earlier this year, and now they're catching 9.5 points. And by the way, not only is this a public dog, but it's also a sharp square divide because the line has been 9.5 all week. As we head closer to Friday, it's starting to creep up to 10 in some key spots across the board. And that's very telling because that's the sharp money because, once again, the public is on the dog. So lots of reasons to like Oregon in this game from a line betting perspective. And is there value? By the way, the look-ahead line a week ago was as low as 6.5, 7 in many books. Now it's 9.5, 10, but it's not high enough. My database simulation, 10,000 games, has Oregon winning this matchup by 11.5 points on average, and I agree with that simulation. You know, sometimes common opponents is vastly overrated when handicapping college sports, but in this case, I don't think it is. Oregon and Washington played 7 common opponents this year. Pac-12 games, and man, the results couldn't be any more extreme. Let's just look at some of the recent games. Oregon last week beats Oregon State by 24. Washington only beat them by 2 the week before that. Last week, Washington beats Washington State by 3. Oregon beat them by 14 a couple months ago, or last month. Utah, Oregon goes into the thin air and altitude of Utah and wins by 29. Washington at home only beats Utah by 7. And the one that really jumps out, Arizona State on the road a couple games ago. Oregon wins by 36 at home last month. Washington only wins by 8, only scored 15 points in that game, 15-7. Oregon's the better team, and yes, they lost by 3 earlier this year back on October 14th, but that was misleading. They were on the road, hostile environment, 3-point dog, still should have gone to overtime probably, and they had a 540 yards, outgained Washington by over 120 yards on the road. Oregon's the better team, and if they win, they're in. This is going to solve itself. Whoever wins this game is in. Whoever loses is out, and I think it's the Oregon Ducks. Lay than minus 9.5. I am seeing some 10 start to creep, although I think when this game kicks off on Friday night, it'll be back down to 9.5 just because Washington does look like a very public underdog on Friday evening. All right, 4 games as well on Saturday. Let's start off with the early game at 12 noon Eastern. Oklahoma State, number 18, Oklahoma State Cowboys against number 7, Texas in the Big 12 championship. And this line is creeping higher all week. Opened as low briefly at 12.5, quickly got up to 14.5 on Monday, and now it's up to 15, even 15.5 out there as we get closer to the weekend. And my database simulation, 10,000 games, actually favors Texas by 15.5 points. So yes, this line is pretty much where it should be. Really not a lot of value left after crossing that key number of 14 earlier in the week. But if you're going to play it, I would lay it. It's the only way I would play this game is with the Texas Longhorns, even at minus 15, 15.5, because first of all, they have plenty of incentive to win big. They're on the outside looking in as a one-loss team, but they do have a win over Alabama, one of the other one-loss teams. Florida State, we're going to talk about them in a moment. Star quarterback is out there. Only a 2.5-point favorite against Louisville. They could very well go down. And once again, the Oregon-Washington winner will be on the outside looking in. So Texas definitely has a good chance to leapfrog Ohio State, who's idle, and get into the playoffs. And they know it, and they want to win by margin on top of that. And the other reason it's hard to back Oklahoma State here is they don't have a good passing attack. And you never want to back these double-digit teams when they get behind because they have trouble throwing the ball. It's tough to catch up or get the backdoor cover. On the season, Oklahoma State's averaging just 6.6 yards per pass against teams that allow 7.1. Texas gives up 6.8 against teams that average 7.7. So Huge step down in class for Texas facing a struggling Cowboys passing attack. Oklahoma State gets it done on the ground. Both teams average over 5 yards a carry rushing the ball this year. And Oklahoma State does have to run it to keep it close, but that's playing into the strength of the Texas defense, which gives up just 85 rushing yards, just 2.9 yards per carry. So even though the database simulation is right around 15.5, I think you could probably tack on a few extra points based on the need situation and the try maybe a front door coverage situation, if you will, to put some style points up. And then on top of that, I'm just not sure Oklahoma State can catch up if they're behind. So if you're going to play it, I would recommend laying it with Texas minus the 15 to 15.5. Kicks off early at 12 noon Eastern on Saturday. All right, another game on Saturday goes at 4 o'clock Eastern. Huge game, SEC championship in Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, of course. Number 1 ranked Georgia against number 8 Alabama. As I mentioned earlier, it's really going to be tough for Alabama to find a path in, even if they pull the upset here, because do you bump Georgia out of the top 4 if they lose to Bama, say in a close game? Hey, by the way, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on that, how you think these games play out, and also the playoff scenarios. I don't like the 14 playoff. I'm glad we're going to a bigger one next year, but it is amazing how things always seem to work out. It seems like every year there's maybe 5 teams that have a gripe for the 4 spots. If Alabama gets their second loss, they're definitely on the outside looking in. But if they pull the upset here, it's going to get very interesting. And keep in mind, a couple seasons ago, similar situation. Bama was a 6-point dog, and they beat Georgia 41-24 in the title game. So, yes, Nick Saban as an underdog with Alabama always catches your eye. But then again, do we want to fade a Georgia team that's now won 29 straight games? Database simulation has Georgia winning by 5.2, so just over 5 points a game on average. As we check the WagerTalk live odds screen on Thursday afternoon, we see Georgia's currently a 5.5-point favorite in most spots. So I think this line is spot on. Instead of looking at the side, let's look at the total. Game opened 56.5. It's down to 54.5. In some spots, 54 in others. I don't agree with that move down. I think the over is worth a look. You know, a lot of times you see these 2 strong defenses and everyone plays the under. We saw that last week with Ohio State, Michigan. What happens? It goes over the total because these are also very good offensive teams that really hold a lot of the bad teams in check but can put up some points when they need to. In fact, Alabama has not gone under since September. You know, they got off to that terrible start in September against South Florida. They lost to Texas. Everyone was questioning the offense. Well, this is an Alabama team that's gone under in only 2 games all season, and those both came in September. And they've now, the last 7, they've gone over with 2 pushes. So they haven't gone under in over 2 months, and I think the over is worth a look. And also Georgia has really turned it on offensively when they've been focused. You know, they kind of sleptwalked through a lot of games, didn't cover the first couple months. They've now covered 3 of their last 5. But look at what they've done in focus spots. They played that undefeated Kentucky team back in early October, put up 51 points, put up 43 points against Florida in the neutral site, put up 52 against Ole Miss, a top 10 game a few weeks ago. The other games against Vandy, only 37. Georgia Tech, only 31. You get the point. Georgia's actually been better against good teams offensively. I think both teams put up some points here. We're going to stay off the side. I think the number's where it should be, but let's look at the total over 54.5 of the SEC title game at 4 Eastern on Saturday. All right, 2 more games to get to, 2 more big title games. We're going to look at the Big Ten and the ACC championships. Just a quick reminder, my personal best bets are available every day on my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And this week, I've got special discounts on a 3-day, a 30-day, even a 365-day package. Special promo codes. I know the one that's really popular is that 30-day, so I want to highlight that here on this video. 30 days for just over $8 a day, but you've got to have promo code Merril30, 2 R's, 1 L, MERRIL 30. Merril30 gets you 30 days and nights of all sports, just over $8 a day. Check out all the promo codes, all the packages, all the special prices on my page, along with daily free plays. And by the way, number 1 ranked in college and pro football sides the last 2 years combined. Number 1 ranked this year in the NBA, up over 35 net games in 2023 already. A couple years ago, number 1 in college hoops, off to a nice start there this year as well. Not a bad time to be an all sports, all access client. And this is the week to try it out because you get a special instant discount. Those promo codes are on my page right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. All right, let's look at the final 2 games on the nighttime card. Both go at 8 o'clock Eastern. Let's start with the Big Ten Championship on Fox National TV. Number 2, Michigan. Number 16, Iowa. And we have to talk about this total. Iowa Hawkeyes, historically bad defense, bad offense, good defense once again this season. And they really can't set the totals low enough. In fact, this is the lowest total in the history of championship games going back to the year 2000. The only total near this was around a 38.5 against Virginia Tech, Boston College back in the ACC title game in 08. That landed on 42. It was a 32-10 game, I believe. But this game is priced at 35. So, yes, it's the lowest championship total ever, yet it's a full touchdown higher than most recent Iowa totals. A few weeks ago against Rutgers, 27.5, lowest total ever, landed 22-0. And then just last week, it closed around 26, even as low as 25 in some spots. Against Nebraska, lands 13-10, stays under with just 23 points. And there was a field goal at the buzzer, walk-off field goal to win by Iowa. Otherwise, that game goes to overtime. Talking about a bad beat. The under would not have cashed. But look, Iowa's now gone under 7 straight games, and all of those games have totaled 34 points or less. So, yes, this is a low total once again, but it's not low enough. So you got to play the under if you're looking at the total. It's either under or pass until we see otherwise. In fact, Iowa's gone over just once in their last 9 games, and that was a misleading over against Michigan State a couple months ago. Landed 42, total was 37. Michigan State had a 42-yard fumble return. Otherwise, that lands 35. That means every one of the past 9 games would have totaled 35 or less for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Michigan, meanwhile, do they have a lot of focus here? I know it's a huge win last week against Ohio State, but they have stepped up in this situation the last couple years after beating Ohio State. They blew out Iowa, blew out Purdue. If this game gets over the total, it's probably because Michigan gets it there. So I do lean towards the Wolverines as far as the side. Database simulation has Michigan winning by just over 23 points on average. That's where the line was earlier in the week. It's now dropped down to 22. Total is also dropping from 35.5 down to 35, even some 34 starting to pop. So I lean under the total. And if you're going to play it, I would lay it with Michigan because, once again, like I've talked about in other games, the Iowa Hawkeyes have no backdoor cover potential. Terrible offense, as we've established, but it's especially bad at passing the ball. They're a run-based offense. They average just 49% completions, only 12 completions per game out of 24 attempts, and just 5 yards per pass attempt. When they get behind, which they should as a 3-touchdown dog, they can't catch up. If you look at the projections here, the 22 and 35 would be like a 28-6 win on average. So Iowa's team total should be like 6, 6.5. But some books have half a point juiced to the over. That's how insanely low Iowa's offensive production should be. And one other thing I want to point out, I know they played in the really bad Big Ten West division, but they did step out one time and played Penn State earlier in the season, and they lost that game. It was only a 2-touchdown road dog. They lost 31-0, and there was nothing misleading about the 0 points. Iowa had only 4 first downs, 20 rushing yards, and only 56 passing yards in that game. And Michigan's a better team than Penn State, as we've seen. So once again, Michigan under the only 2 ways I would play this game on Saturday night. All right, quickly on the way out, let's look at the final game, the ACC Championship. Number 14, Louisville. Number 4, Florida State on ABC at 8 Eastern. And the big news here, of course, is that Offensive Player of the Year, Travis Watson, quarterback for Florida State, is out now. Once again, he got injured a couple weeks ago against Northern Alabama early in the game. Manderbeck, the backup quarterback, played really well against a bad Northern Alabama team, but he did not play well last week against Florida. Below 50% completions, barely over 5 yards per pass attempt. So difficult game to handicap. My database simulation, not really accounting for the injury, has Florida State winning by only 3.5. Current line is 2.5 with a much weaker quarterback spot. So it's a tough call here, but so far the backup has not looked good, at least last week against a mediocre Florida defense. Louisville is better defensively. And as I say, things always seem to work out with the rankings. Louisville took care of that problem because that would have been another 1-loss team in the mix had they pulled this upset win. They're a 2-loss team now after the upset to Kentucky last week. It'll be interesting to see if they bounce back here. But difficult game to handicap because most of the regular season numbers for Florida State's offense aren't very usable here until we see how the backup plays. He did not look good against Florida, beat up on a bad Northern Alabama team. The committee says they will take injuries into account like they do with the college basketball tournament selection committee. So it'd be interesting if Florida State wins this game. Do they get bumped as an undefeated team? A really interesting scenario. Once again, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Not a lot from a handicapping perspective here, but a really interesting game to talk about here. Florida State wins. The backup plays bad, but they pull out a win by, say, 3 points, undefeated. They just still deserve to be in the top 4. Could Ohio State jump them? I don't think Florida State's one of the 4 best teams, but I didn't think TCU was one of the 4 best teams last year, and they lost to Kansas State in the championship game, still made the Final Four. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Florida State with a loss, they're out, no question about it. But if they win ugly. Do they still deserve a top 4 spot? Comment below. I read all the comments. I reply back. Let me know your thoughts on these games and other best bets you like this week in college football. Let's win together here on WagerTalk TV. And don't forget, thumbs up, like goes a long way to keeping everything free here. And don't forget also, hit subscribe and hit the bell for instant alerts. You know when my college football videos are posted each week, college and pro basketball daily videos, and most importantly, my NFL Fade the Public video this Saturday. here on the channel. And also a great time to get All Sports All Access, #1 ranked football, #1 ranked basketball. It's all going right now on a daily basis. Check out a 3-day, a 30-day, even a full year, 365-day. That works out to less than $3 a day, by the way. All those promo codes and special prices, including that very popular 30-day sampler, is available on my page right now. The 30-day works out to about $8 a day. The all-year works out to less than $3 a day. You don't want to miss out. Get on board right now and start winning consistently. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Daily free plays posted there as well. Get there quicker with promo code, or shortcut code rather, WT.buzz/SM. Once again, go to my page, check out those promo codes and instant discounts on All Sports All Access this week. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on Twitter and X. I also post free plays throughout the week on Instagram. Who knew? I'm on IG. Follow me there, Merril_Steve, and follow Wager Talk as well. And don't forget, stay tuned right here to Wager Talk TV for more great college and pro football preview videos. My NFL Fade the Public video coming up soon. In the meantime, enjoy the games this week and best of luck. Let's cash in big. I'll talk to you soon.